Last year, Nintendo released a miniaturized version of its Nintendo Entertainment System preloaded with 30 classic games, including Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, Metroid, and Kirby. It ended up being the most sought-after item for the holiday season. The demand for the system was severely outweighed by the supply from a company that didn't think anyone would want a retro console. After 3 aggravating months of trying to find one of these mini retro delights, Nintendo abruptly discontinued it. There was much speculation that Nintendo was branding a Classics line, emphasis on the plural, and that there eventually would be a Super Nintendo Classic Edition. Not long after disappointing Nintendo fans with the dead stop of the NES Classic, Nintendo announced the SNES Mini Classic, complete with 20 classic SNES games and 1 game previously unreleased. Is this $80 console worth the aggravation and possible disappointment of trying to find one after pre-order disappeared in a matter of minutes? Today I will be reviewing the SNES Classic Edition and all of its 16-bit glory. This system itself comes with a miniaturized version of the Super Nintendo, an AC adapter, HDMI cords, and 2 controllers this time. The cords on each controller are 5 feet long. They are twice as long as the NES controllers, but still not long enough. If Nintendo wants to emulate me sitting inches from my television, they have done an excellent job at that. But in today's day and age, I don't want to sit in front of my TV as much as my 5-year-old does. Third-party wireless controllers are available from Yock and Nyko, but who knows if they're any good. As soon as you boot up the SNES Classic, you will be greeted by a similar menu than the NES Classic. All 21 games are laid out for you across the screen with save spots underneath. The SNES aspect ratio is 4:3, so most TVs today are 16:9. You can have the black bars on both sides, but you have the option to replace them with more decorative borders. Let's face it, you're not buying this console for the menu screen. As much of a nice touch as it is, the SNES console has the same interface as the NES, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. But fair warning, there is a glitch. The Super Nintendo did allow some games to save to the cartridge, and that is the same for some of the games here on the Mini Classic. You can save the games to the system itself, but then there are also the 4 save points at the bottom. If you do save one of the games to the cartridge like Super Mario World, and quit and load a game from one of the 4 slots at the bottom, you will delete your game from the cartridge. No, the reason people are waiting in line for hours on the day of launch to grab one of these tiny bits of happiness in a box or calling GameStop every day to see if there's any in stock is for the games included with the Super Nintendo Mini Classic. There are 9 less games than the NES Classic, but what is lacking in quantity is made up for in quality. There are some real gems here. The games themselves are some of the best that Super Nintendo had to offer, and some of them are arguably the best games ever made. Some of the titles really bring me back to sitting face to face with my TV for hours on end with Super Mario World, Mario Kart, Star Fox, and Street Fighter II, and includes excellent platformers like Donkey Kong Country, Kirby Superstar, Yoshi's Island, Mega Man X, and one of the best platformers of all time, Super Mario World. I spent the majority of my tween years trying to unlock every secret exit and trying to figure out how to get around the Star Path levels before finally beating Bowser in his castle. 93 levels. 93 freaking levels. He had to figure out how to get to half of them before he could even beat them. Plus, there was Yoshi. Super Nintendo was also home to some of the greatest RPGs of all time, and there are a few of those included here. The weird alien invasion of Earthbound, Legend of Zelda: The Link to the Past, Secret of Mana, which you should play the original before the remake is released in January. Master RPG creator Squaresoft even teamed up with Mario and the gang for Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars. The Mini Super Nintendo also includes one of the greatest RPGs of all time, Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, I know the box says 3, but it's really 6, and it will always be 6 to me, and I can't in good conscience call this 3. With all the re-releases of the Final Fantasy games, there's always a debate of which version is the best. But in this version of 6, the Super Nintendo version is the best version to play. Continuing with the best ever motif, the Mini Classic also includes the pinnacle of Metroidvanias with Super Metroid and Castlevania 4. I mean, the genre is called Metroidvanias for these 2 reasons. There isn't a single game I have mentioned that I don't look forward to playing. There's some other random gems also. I look forward to introducing my 5-year-old to classics like Super Punch-Out, F-Zero, and Mario Kart. Despite being packed with so many awe-inspiring games, there are a few that I could have gone without. Star Fox was a technical marvel when it was first released, but it has not aged well, and after trudging through every level as a kid, I am going to skip this one. I did play the first level just to unlock the previously unreleased Star Fox 2. It's a nice novelty to have a game that has never seen the light of the Funko or EV game shelves, but this one is also skippable. The difficulty level of Super Contra and Super Ghouls and Ghosts isn't worth the trip down the 16-bit memory lane. Kirby's Dream Course is just plain weird and super dated and should have been replaced by something like Donkey Kong Country 2 or 3, Final Fantasy 4, or Mortal Kombat 2. With that being said, there are a couple notable games missing from the Super Nintendo Classic Mini Edition. The Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3, Mortal Kombat 2 and Final Fantasy 4, but none more notable than Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is in the same conversation with Final Fantasy VI as the greatest RPG of all time. Forget Game Informer's Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy are the two greatest RPGs of all time. Hey, at least we have one of them. Guess I'll just have to play Chrono Trigger on my PlayStation Vita or PlayStation 4. Yes, they still exist, and they exist in my house for that reason. Where else can I play The Legend of Dragoon? The SNES Mini Classic may be a hassle to find, or what will be the second most sought after gift this holiday season after those funny looking monkey fingerlings. But is it worth the hassle? I would have to say it's an astounding yes. This little hand-sized magic box has some of the best games ever, and I mean ever made. Despite the way too short controllers, you can still relive the joys of your childhood in games like Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda, and Super Metroid. You can jump into some Super Nintendo games you might have missed, like Earthbound and Secret of Mana. You can also introduce another generation, like my 5-year-old, to the joys of Mario Kart and Donkey Kong Country. If you can find one, get one. These are a limited run, but Nintendo stated that they should be more readily available this time, unlike the NES Classic, and will continue to sell through 2018. But be warned, don't pay the $500 price tag I've seen on eBay or the $200 I've seen on the Facebook Marketplace. For $79.99, this pocket-sized plastic mini console is worth every penny. Again, thank you for watching our review of the Super Nintendo Mini Classic console. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep a lookout for more news, reviews, and playthroughs.